been practicing for 17 years, and I've been recommending vegan lifestyle to my patients. I'm in Bloomfield, New Jersey. Next, please. So the difference between vegetarian and vegan diet, I think we don't really have to get into this. Most of the people now are aware that vegetarian is an outdated term, and that's the reason HK and we go way back, because there was a time they were used to have a vegetarian vision out of Long Island, and they called me to give a talk, and I did give a talk on veganism, and the president at that time somehow didn't take it well because he was consuming milk. And he says, well, these are all Dr. Shah's own views. This is 6-7 years back. And that's, milk is good for you, milk is healthy, everybody should be really thinking. I told HK, I said, call me next time when you're ready for being vegan. I said, that is the way to go. So finally, when he was ready, he says, come on, Dr. Shah, get on the board. So basically, vegan diet is, as we know, so no animal products and no butter, no cheese, no honey, no gelatin, vegan diets. A lot of things can be done as we go further, we'll see. And as Benjamin Franklin says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Again, I practice internal medicine, and yes, we are in a business like any other doctor, but to me, it really does not make sense. Our Indian philosophy always stayed behind it. If you can prevent something, why would you want to treat? If the cancer can be prevented, why would you want to treat a cancer? The thing is, the treatment is where the money is, but the prevention, there is no money. And somehow the prevention appeals to me a lot more than the treatment. And then I wanted to do what is right for my patients. So little by little, I started getting deeper and deeper into it. So this is something that always makes sense to me. Next, please. Next, please. So a lot of incurable, that we call incurable diseases nowadays, the whole world is becoming rampant, US for sure, and with its exportation of its high corporate cultures and capitalistic and consumerist society's ideas, it's spreading all over. All these diseases that we are seeing all the time, every single day: coronary artery disease, high cholesterol, obesity, cancers, hypertension, and many psychological disorders. Next, please. So cholesterol, this is a question, if you ask a lot of people, they will not have any idea. If I ask, what is cholesterol? Everybody tells me that cholesterol is a bad fat, it clogs the arteries. I say, no, those are the effects of cholesterol. What is cholesterol? And in fact, to tell you the truth, as a medical school curriculum, we never get exposed to nutritional aspect to what is cholesterol. I had a problem finding until Dr. Google helped me. Cholesterol is an organic molecule. It's a sterol, a type of lipid molecule. It is biosynthesized by animal cells because it is an essential structural component of all animal cell membranes. That means literally every single cell in our body has a cell wall that's made out of cholesterol. So we are cholesterol. Whatever food we eat, our body has to make cholesterol first, and then we can make the new cells. The life is all about making new cells and shedding the old cells. That's how we get older, 5-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old. So, and until we reach to a point that we cannot make new cells anymore, then we die. It's as simple as that. The whole life cycle revolves around having cholesterol. The problem is, all animals are made out of cholesterol. So if you have a cholesterol and you don't want to have any more cholesterol, it will be a logical thing to say that avoid the animal products. Next, please. So every time you're eating meat, including chicken and fish, and in US, again, general belief that meat means just red meat. This is all propaganda of the consumeristic society and the capitalistic captured markets, that they make you believe that meat means red meat. That's it. Chicken is fine, no problem. So every time you tell them, don't eat meat, oh, what about chicken? And I say, well, if it grows on a tree, I have no problem. A fish, does it grow on a tree? No. I said, all animals are made out of cholesterol. Every time you drink milk, or eat cheese, or butter, or yogurt, or even ghee, you are consuming cholesterol. So there is no way to lower your cholesterol on your own if you keep consuming these products. By doing this, we're adding cholesterol to the body, which is already smart enough. Our body knows how much cholesterol to make for us. So it doesn't really have to be told. But on top of that, the government has put down the regulations that what do they call RDA, recommended daily allowance. They have put down included cholesterol as a recommended daily allowance. I don't understand why. And I've been vegan for 20 years now. I ran 6 marathons, and I have never needed any of these so-called recommended daily allowances that included cholesterol. So that shows that how high-level corporate culture talk to each other for the neglect of the average population, and that bothered me. That's where I saw the difference between medicine. They call medicine is a cure because you have a disease, and that for the first time I came to understand the meaning of Ayurveda. Ayurveda is Ayu is life and Veda is science. They are talking about science for the whole life, not just treat the disease. So that's how I said the fundamental shift happening. I'm not into Ayurveda medications or anything like that, but the philosophy is something that really makes sense to prevent the disease and tell what is the right thing to do to the patients. Next, please. So again, excess cholesterol, we all know, leads to coronary artery disease, obesity, and obesity leads to diseases like hypertension, cancers. Next, please. Again, same thing. And most of the cancers many of the cancers are linked with the obesity, and there is a reason which I'll come to later. But a lot of uterine cancers, kidney cancers, breast cancers have been linked with the obesity. Next, please. So a lot of misbeliefs are going around in the community and in US, in everywhere else, that milk makes you strong, and then it just because of this prevalent misbeliefs, people keep on consuming. A lot of times they may not even like the milk, but they would keep on consuming just because they are told that makes you strong, makes you strong, makes you strong. I tell them, I say, who is strong? You or the cow? Well, the cow. Does the cow drink milk? No. Then what does the cow eat? Well, it eats the grass. So why don't you eat the grass then? So again, cheese, it gives you protein. Ghee, again, modified Ayurveda says it gives you good for your joints. Yogurt, all those eggs, whether you need it for protein. I had one patient, she came to me and then, I have to have, actually she's a nun from South, and she has settled in US, and she came to me and then she has diabetes and high cholesterols, and I had told her to go vegan and she just wouldn't listen. And finally one time she came to Kerala and she went on one of the health forms, and then they really told her everything, and then she really lost a lot of weight. Her diabetes got reversed, cholesterol actually she lost some weight, but the cholesterol didn't come down. So when she came back, I said, well, why is the cholesterol still high? He says, when I go to the convent, the other nuns forces me to eat the eggs, because they says, come on, you're gonna lose a lot of weight because there is not enough protein in your diet. And I asked her, what did the people in Kerala say? He says, no, they told me to eat sprout moon for the breakfast. I said, did you know how much protein is in one egg? He says, no. I said, 6 grams. He says, how much protein is in a cup of sprout moon? 43. I said, there you go. You were wiser than the other nuns who was telling you. So she kept on eating the eggs, and one egg is 187 milligrams of cholesterol. So that's no surprise, her cholesterol never came down. Although her diabetes came down, she lost weight. But her story is coming next. So next, please. So again, these are all the misconceptions we have to come out. There are a lot of reasons. One is the high cholesterol. 40% of the milk calories are made out of lactose. Lactose is sugar. Again, there is a link between milk and diabetes. Again, there is fat, it's animal protein. And of course, there are hormones and antibiotics being injected to the cows and other animals that comes into your body and then ultimately affects you. Next, please. So, again, cholesterol is part of the milk. 1 cup has 24 milligrams of cholesterol. Thanks. And the cheese is the top of all, because 1 cup of cheese equals to 10 cups of whole milk. The ratio is tremendous. 24 milligrams versus 256 milligrams of cholesterol in 1 cup of cheese, which is easily put on pizza. So cholesterol in yogurt, same thing, 24 milligrams. Ghee, 14 grams, contains 35 milligrams of cholesterol. Next, please. Eggs, I said, 187 milligrams of cholesterol. Fish oil, again, it's a great misbelief goes on that the fish is very good for you because it has omega-3 fatty acids. And yeah, to some extent, omega-3 fatty acid is good for you. There is no question about that, but because of that, we don't have to take 104 milligrams of cholesterol when you can have the same type of omega-3 fatty acid in flax seeds and almonds, and a lot of natural raw products can provide you all that. Next, please. So, there is any plant-based diet if you go for it. So, as we said, the whole animal kingdom is made out of cholesterol. So, what is the plant kingdom made out of? How come they don't have any cholesterol? There would not be any cholesterol in any of the plant products. Next, please. And the answer lies in this cellulose. All the animal cells which are made out of the cholesterol, the same way the plant cells are made out of cellulose. Cellulose is fiber. Fiber actually helps you a lot. So one, it does not give you cholesterol, but it has an ingenious way of reducing your cholesterol. Next, please. So it's a complicated slide, but I'll make it simple for you. The fiber is rough in eating. So every time you eat fiber, it goes through your inner lining. The inner lining of your intestine is very delicate, a lot more delicate than your skin. It's so the fiber rubs against this inner lining. It scrapes out all the dying cells, brings the healthy cells in the front. The dying cells have less capacity to fight against cancers, and the healthy cells have more capacity to fight against cancer. That's one advantage. Plus, the cells which are scraped off, they are taken away by the fiber. Normally, cells fall off anyway. Every time you eat, the food is being rubbed, the cells normally through the natural cycles fall off. They go to the large intestine. The large intestines will squeeze it and reabsorbs the cholesterol, because the cholesterol is extremely important for our body. Body does not want to lose cholesterol. So this is a normal mechanism, but the fiber does a beautiful thing. Fiber will work like a sponge. It will trap these cells. Not only it will scrape them more, it will trap them, and when you move your bowels, it take it out. That's why the famous the oatmeal, they say that in India, in US, they put down that we lower the cholesterol by 15%. So fiber is very important to lower. So it's no brainer. Or if you go on the plant side, you have no cholesterol coming in. On top of that, if you make the right choices on the vegan diet, you can actually reduce your cholesterol. And the results which I have seen were tremendous, which I'll come to with the numbers. Next, please. So if you compare, a lot of times people say that, oh, I need to eat chicken because it has a lot of protein. I tell him, I said, did you ever really look into that? Protein, 38 grams, 39 grams. But cholesterol is 123 milligrams. And black beans have zero cholesterol. Chicken gives you zero fiber because it doesn't grow on a tree. And the black beans gives you 28 grams, so how can you go wrong? And the cost, approximate cost for chicken in US is $3 versus 60 cents. Beans are so cheap over there. So, because nobody wants them. That's why. Next, please. So, milk, as we said, it definitely raises your blood sugar. But the hormones which are injected are responsible, because as Dr. Manon said, the cows produce milk only after that they deliver the baby. And during the pregnancy, the estrogen levels start going up. Normally, every time you have a cycle, the estrogen goes up, and then it starts going down, and then ultimately you shed your inner lining of your uterus, and the progesterone comes down. And then estrogen becomes zero, and the cycle goes on until a female gets pregnant. Then estrogen doesn't stop rising, it keeps on rising. Now, so once the pregnancy state is established, it's a high estrogen state, right? And then the baby is delivered and the milk starts. And the milk flows continues about a year and a half. After that, if the cow cannot produce any more milk, she has to be made pregnant again. So this is how it goes. Now, there is more trick to this than we know. Theoretically, cows should not get pregnant while the baby is still milking, right? But wrong. In US, and not so much in Europe, and maybe they are also adopting because of the artificial insemination, the cows are made pregnant while they are lactating. Now imagine the pregnancy being a very high estrogen state, that estrogen is coming in through your milk into every single milk products that you consume. So it is really a double whammy, but they somehow, the Europeans, at least they used to be more ethical, and now even there the pattern of the practice is changing. But they used to ban the cheese from India, from US, and they used to ban this practice of inseminating the cows while they're lactating. So there is a lot of controversy and a lot of unfortunate practices being done routinely in the commercial industry, and we are the victims. So all these hormones that are present in the cow naturally, there are 9 hormones in the milk naturally present, and one of them is they have estrogen and cortisol levels, IGF-1. There are so many hormones which are normally present, and out of that the most potent is IGF-1, called the insulin-like growth factor, which is responsible for stimulating the cancer cells. So all these things are linked, and the IGF is neutral. It goes into men and it can stimulate prostate, and if it goes into females, it stimulates the female hormones, the breast, the ovaries, and the cervix, and the uterus. So all those results that we see are because of the milk. Interestingly, there used to be, I read an article in Discover magazine that the bush women, they actually studied bush women in according to their the excavated skeletons and the detailed study. They found out that bush women used to have 150 cycles in throughout the life. If you consider like 12 cycles a year, say for example, you're talking about 12 to 13 years of active menstrual lifestyle. But now, average woman is getting 400 cycles. Why? There is tremendous amount of estrogen. And it's not just the milk. Here we are talking about milk, the cosmetics, and a lot of other products that we are being using. They're all because all the skin that looks softer, it comes at a price. There are a lot of estrogen-like compounds that may not be estrogen itself, but there are a lot of estrogen-like substances being utilized to make your skin soft and make it supple and look it beautiful. But we are paying a big price. So estrogen, there's so much estrogen in the environment. So the same, like I said, the milk sugar is called lactose. That's what it gives its sweet taste. And 40% of the whole cow's milk's calories are made out of lactose. And lactose is sugar because it breaks down with an enzyme called lactase and splits into glucose and galactose. And they both have, glucose is pure sugar, galactose is a protein stored in the liver, immediately readily available to convert into sugar. Next, please. Again, we talked about the IGF-1. Next, please. So milk and cancer has been established link for a long time, but no. Yeah. So actually, it has been shown to have a link. There, but conveniently the food industry and the scientific industry even tends to neglect because there is so much money involved. The animal industry is very powerful. In US, there used to be 70 companies controlling your food production, storage, distribution, and then consumption. Now there are only 3. 3 companies controlling 300 million people's food. Imagine the power these companies have. Their CEOs become the senators in US and vice versa. Once they finish their retire from the senatorship, they become the CEOs. There is a lot of ugly handshakes going on at the higher level, and we are the one who's suffering. There is another incident that I would like to tell you, that at one time the American Dairy Association approached the USDA, the United States Dairy Association, approached the Agricultural Department. Why? Because the dairy consumption was going down, so they had a major problem. Now, US stands for business. They don't care about people, and that's true for all the countries and all the politics too. So they cooked up a scheme, the American Dairy Association and the Agriculture Department, they cooked up a scheme there that, okay, let's do this. They grabbed Domino's Pizza, which was really going down at that time. They were going out of business and their sales were going down. So they said they created a new recipe for triple cheese pizza. And their recipe was publicized all over, marketed all over at the taxpayers' cost. They spent close to $30-40 million making it popular. Obviously, people go for it whenever it's something advertised. So the pizza sales went through the roof. Domino's survived. The American government was happy because the businesses were happy. But meanwhile, all that cheese was killing the American people. Nobody cares about it. So this is how the high-level connections happen. So we need to rise ourselves. We need to do our Shravan, Manan, and Acharan in such a very definite way so we can take, and now that's what is happening. We see veganism spreading all over. Why? People are waking up. So the diethylstilbestrol used to be routinely injected to the cows until they found out that diethylstilbestrol causes breast cancer. And the thing is that in US and in again all the scientific industries and the corporate cultures, this is what happens. Okay, so diethylstilbestrol causes breast cancer, so we have to ban it. So the government acts on it. There is incontrovertible proof. The studies have shown, so you have to take it out. But now they tweak the molecule. They tweak the molecule, they make it triethylstilbestrol or something like, but the business goes on as usual. So we have to be really aware that that diethylstilbestrol has estrogen-like properties, which was routinely being injected. But all those breast cancers that happen because nobody talks about it. And same thing with the prostate cancer, like I told you, milk and the prostate cancer. There is 11% rise in the prostate cancer risk if you consume dairy on a regular basis. Next, please. World Health Organization has processed meat. Again, that was pretty good. The casein, Dr. Mammon mentioned. Please, next. Milk and osteoporosis. Again, they say you need to consume milk so that you don't develop osteoporosis. It gives you calcium, it gives you protein, it builds up your bones. But every third woman walking in my practice has osteoporosis. And milk is going through the roof in the US. The consumption of milk, especially after the invention of the cheese, has really gone through so much. I said, it's one of us, the highest country, consuming all this, and why do we have osteoporosis then? So the question is really, is that the myth or is it misbelief, or are we just being misguided? Next, please. So this is interesting. Again, it's something that I picked up. I was studying biology with my son. He was in 8th grade at that time. And he had, in his biology textbook, there is something called Rule of 10. Rule of 10 means that any organism, say the stock of wheats which are down there and the chicken is there, if the chicken wants to consume the wheat, it can approach the stock, but 90% of the calories the stock will hold on to it. It will share only 10%. So that's called Rule of 10. So the roots, the chicken cannot eat, the plant, the leaves, it cannot eat the stalk, cannot eat the flowers, it can eat only the wheat. So that's 10%. So if a chicken wants to survive, it needs 10 plants, right? Next, please. But if now a fox wants to eat the chicken, same rule applies. And this is biological rule. It's a standard scientific rule. This was in the 8th grade biology textbook for my son, and my son is 36 years old right now practicing. So this is how long we have known this fact, but it somehow remains hidden all the time. So what that implies is if a fox wants to eat chicken, same rule will apply. So one chicken will not be enough because chicken hooves are no good, chicken bones are no good, chicken feathers are no good. All these things which are taken out, that's 90% of the chicken's calorie. So whatever it will eat will only 10%. So it needs 10 chickens. So indirectly, one fox is consuming 100 plants of wheat because it needs a larger area. And then same thing with the lion. Lion needs 10 foxes, 100 chickens, and 1,000 plants. That's why lions need large territories to survive. And that's why they are becoming extinct. So let's look at the implications of this. So if there are 10 plants of wheat, supposing there are chemicals, and we cannot avoid chemicals, right? So 10 plants of wheat worth of chemicals will go into one chicken's body, but 100 plants worth of chemicals will go into one fox's body. So now the result is multiplying, and the line, of course, it goes to 1,000. So the more area that we cover, the more chemicals going to be accumulating. And then again, another implication is the more area, larger area is needed to sustain our habit of eating chicken and fish. So the higher you go on a food chain, more and more chemicals accumulate and more large area you need to survive. Next, please. At one time, the bald eagle, which is the national bird for US, was becoming extinct. And the result was the DDT, which is still allowed in India, and it's been banned in US. The reason was exactly this, because if you look at the bald eagle is on the top of the food chain. So whatever the DDT was routinely being used as a pesticide, and it would run off go into the smaller streams to the bigger streams, and the small fish to the bigger fish to bigger fish. And the bald eagle is on the highest on the food chain. So all the chemicals were accumulating in the bald eagle's body, and the DDT was making the eggs soft. So the babies, before they had a chance to hatch, the eggs would break, and the babies would not survive. That's why the bald eagles were becoming almost extinct, and so they had to protect, they had to run the research. They narrowed it down to DDT, they stopped the DDT, and now the bald eagles are coming back to life. So they're thriving actually. So we have to realize that higher you go on a food chain, there are a lot of prices to pay. The chemicals is definitely number one, and among other problems. And the land-wise, 10% of the farmland that is being used is only growing food for the humans. 90% of the farms which are being used are growing food for the animals because of our crazy, insatiable desire to eat the chicken and fish and beef and all those things, which is craziness. Next, please. So same thing, the higher you go on the food chain. Next, please. And causes of cancers, if you can see, again, this is the data from the CDC, 40% almost is caused by diet. This can be reversed very nicely, by going the whole food plant-based diet, which is becoming really a major game changer. Next, please. So a lot of people ask me that okay, there are chemicals in the plants also, and I agree. There are two kinds of chemicals. There are some which are fat soluble and some which are water soluble. So water soluble, we are not designed to hold on to the water. So supposing you eat the plant-based diet, most of the foods on the plant side are all water-based, except the nuts, which has fat. But everything else is water-based. So chemicals you will get will be water soluble. They come in your body, you drink the water, you got to go. And that's it. That's the end of it. Our contact, we are not camels. We cannot hold on to the water. But the fat is another story. All animals are made out of cholesterol. So their chemicals which will be coming from the animals would be fat soluble. So they are in their body, they dissolve in their body fat, we consume them, and then it dissolves in our body fat. So basically, and then it stays in our body because we do store fat, right? So the chemicals which are present in the fat, which are continuously being released on a regular basis, that's what causes cancers. So that's why animal diet has been very heavily linked with the cancers. Next, please. So these are some of the actual patient results I would like to share. This girl was really the poster child for me. She came to me, she traveled almost 3 hours to come see me. I said, why did you do that? I said, she had some asthmatic bronchitis. I said, all right, we'll take care of her. He said, well, my mom lives in the next town, and she told me, good, so I'm coming to see you. And this is, but I said, by the way, my cholesterol runs very high. So I said, and she gave me the numbers, 270 total cholesterol, bad cholesterol. This HDL is a good cholesterol. She had a lot of good cholesterol, but LDL is a bad cholesterol. That's the sticky cholesterol that clogs your arteries. And that's 163, it should be 99. I said, well, that's horrible. He says, but I said, what did your doctor say? He said, no, he told me to go on statins, and I don't want to go on a statin. So I said, well, then did you get any consultation? Yeah, I went to endocrinologist. Same thing. They told me, Mary, you're gonna die if you don't get statins. This is really bad numbers. So she came to me, and I said, well, you came to a different doctor. I said, let me just ask you one question. I said, if you try to catch something and it runs away, what would you do? In US, if I ask, they say, well, we'll go after. Most of the people say, we'll go after and we'll try to catch them. But she didn't. She started smiling. Somehow she got the answer. She said, I'll let it go. That is an option, not to go after. So I convinced her, I told her, the plants don't have legs. Why? And why do the animals have legs? They want to save their life. You're really forcing yourself onto the environment for your food, versus plants are easily available. In fact, when they have fruits, the branches come down, they said, come and share. Somehow she got it. She became vegan overnight, totally. To go from consuming every single thing to go total vegan is really, I have seen very few people, I'm sorry to say, in Indian lineage, very difficult because the milk somehow holds on to it. But in US, I have seen people are risk takers. They take anything. He said, at least I'll do it for now, then I'll show you. So they did, she did it. 6 weeks later, she texted me. And she knew some words. She said, Dhanyavad, Shukriya. Because of your wisdom, my cholesterol came down. And look at this, LDL from 162 to 94. So she became a true vegan. And these are the food trench soldiers that I call them. They are the ones who take the risk to at least with the belief in you. And she even lost weight, 6 pounds. She didn't even have to lose weight. She's skinny. Next, please. This is another girl who came in, and she had gone to an ophthalmologist, and then they just sent, they said, oh, I don't have a medical doctor, go to Dr. Shah. So she says, I just came. So this was a routine physical that we did. And all of a sudden, she was not really overweight, 250 cholesterol, triglyceride, HDL reasonable, but the LDL was the culprit, 179. So again, I explained to her, she took a challenge, she did it. And from 179, in 8 weeks, she brought it down to 98. No medicine. Amazing results. I was really now started really believing in all this vegan, even though I always believed, philosophically, spiritually, and all those things. So, next please. Now, her story continues. Like, this was the end result at the end of 8 weeks with the LDL of 98. I said, all right, let's do it one more time. So we did it, became 113. And this was a major lesson for me even to learn, that it went up from 98 to 113. And I told her, I said, why? If you're still vegan, why did it go up? He said, no, I'm still vegan. I don't eat anything. I said, just think, Teresa. And she says, oh, you know what? 4 weeks back, I went to Shrenik, the fish food, the seafood restaurant, and with my friends, and I had some seafood there, some shrimp. 4 weeks. So that tells me that whatever she ate 4 weeks back was still affecting her cholesterol today. I said, all right, let's give you a challenge one more time. And then it became, this time she became totally vegan. So, no, that result I don't have, but that 113 became 78. So it is doable. A lot of times we don't realize these things. And this I have proved it again and again with a lot of other patients. We think that we ate, we digested, we didn't gain any weight, we checked the weighing scale, I'm fine, no problem. Wrong. The cholesterol which is extracted, it circulates in your body in the blood for 6 weeks. And that's how it clogs the arteries. It's not a one-day event. Next, please. Oh, this guy, this guy, 229, and you must see, right. So this guy, his weight is not listed, but he was 335 pounds, right? When he started, 335 pounds. And he came to me and he was so massive, I didn't even know where to start, right? So I told him, I said, Dal, you're going on a dangerous path. He says, that's why I'm here. You tell me what to do. So I explained to him, like I normally do, a lot of whole food, plant-based diet, this and that. And most of the people, some listen, some don't listen. He came back in 3 weeks. 335 dropped to 309. He lost 26 pounds. Now at this point I had forgotten that I had even told him. I said, Dal, what happened to you? He said, man, that's your diet. beans and salad diet. That's working. I said, all right, well, I'm happy. So I thought he was going to stop at that point. He came back 2 months later, 47 pounds. And then he came back 6 months later, 64 pounds. I said, Daryl, this is really amazing. This is so great. And he hasn't even started exercise. I said, now what do I do, Doc? I said, all right, start walking. Okay, in 1 year I want to look like you. So that is his goal. Now, the height was, he transferred all his family's records, and they come from a distance. So they transferred, everybody started coming to me. And but everybody was not as motivated as him. So the sister comes for physical after Christmas. He says, Doctor, what did you do to Daryl? I said, wow, what did I do? I said, I'm making him healthy. He said, no, there is something wrong with him. I said, why? Because in Christmas he was looking for carrots. I said, I'm happy. He's listening to me. So this is how, and those are his numbers. So 229 became 173, 150 LDL dropped to 116. But the bigger impact was because of the weight loss was his A1C, the sugar dropped from 71 to 5.4. So it's really amazing how people take challenges in their life. Next, please. This one, this is the vegan nun that I was talking about, the Christian nun. So her cholesterol used to be 223 and 144 bad cholesterol, but her A1C was the main drop. 7.6 became 6.1. But look at her cholesterol still high because she was still eating eggs. Next, please. This is her. I don't think there is a video, but it was supposed to be one. But she had no problem. She said, I'll tell the story to everyone. This is Avinash. He's one of the members of the World Vegan Vision. He himself has proven by taking the vegan challenge. His cholesterol dropped from 223 to 164, LDL 146 to 106. So everybody has been going in this route and with the tremendous results and with great joy for me. Next, please. This is again Nitin Gash. He became, because he's one of the very co-worker and very aggressive, and he lost so much weight by going vegan. He came to me once, and in the beginning when we established the World Vegan Vision, he says, Doc, everything is fine and what you're saying is right, but I can't do it myself. I don't know how to do it. I said, so I said, well, I'll tell you a story. He says, every time I eat the plant-based diet, I hate it, So how do I do it? It's very hard to stay up with this plant-based diet and this and that. I said, well, listen, you are the main member of the World Vegan Vision, so you have to be vegan, no question about it. But there is a story I'll tell you. So I said, well, once I was passing by, the temple was being built, right? So one guy was carving stones. And I asked him, what are you doing? Oh, don't you see? I'm carving the stone, making a living. What's wrong with that? And he was very angry. I said, all right, I'll step back. I go to the next guy. And he was still doing the same thing, carving the stones. I said, what are you doing? Oh, I need money, I need to take care of my wife and children, so I have to do it. I said, all right, that's fine too. So I went to the third guy. And the guy was happily singing and enjoying whatever he was doing. He was still doing the same thing, cutting the stones. I said, what are you doing? Oh, I am building a temple for God. So whatever you do in life, put it on the highest pedestal. Think of all the good things you're doing going vegan. It's not just about your likes and dislikes. Likes and dislikes are only at the mind level. But that's not where Paramatma is. Paramatma is at the soul level. So whatever you do at the higher level, that's where you connect. And then everything else. That's how I became vegan, believe it or not. So for me, going vegan was tough. Although I had collected all this data, by the way, I was quite influenced by the Diet for New America, written by John Robbins. John Robbins is son of Baskin Robbins. He's vegan. And he has written this amazing book. I always believed in veganism, but then one of my patients actually came and gave it to me. He says, Doc, this is all you've been telling, is written down, and all the scientific explanations and experiments and all the data and everything. So I read up the book, and he had predicted in 1980, it was a bestseller book. He had predicted there's gonna be a major breast cancer epidemic in US. At that time, 1 out of 10 women were getting breast cancer. Now, 1 out of 7 women are getting breast cancers. So it is horrible, and it's not just the breast cancer and not just the prostate cancer, multiple sclerosis and a lot of arthritis and psoriasis. Nobody had even thought about the food and link between psoriasis. He had mentioned all of it, very detailed, thorough book. I enjoyed reading that book and all that. So it was in my mind that I wanted to do it, but I couldn't do it. Every time you go to the party and somebody's eating gulab jambu, what do? So, you don't eat, but you walk away, but you don't like it, So there is a split. So there is one part of the mind says you want it, another part of the mind says, no, you should not have it. So whenever there is a split, there is suffering. There is a conflict. So finally you get over the conflict, you leave the party, come home, okay, you did the right thing. And the next time, the same thing again. But the life is divided. And when the life is divided, it is no fun. Even though you're giving it up, but yet you have like a negative taste in your mouth, right? So ultimately I come across the story of the artificial insemination. That really bothered me.